I do a fair bit of playing with making things out of wood and cutting my own lumber, etc. And one of the techniques to finish that wood is using a torch and burning it, and also staining and wood conditioner, etc. after. So I've had a fair bit of interest in this, so I'm going to show you how I do this. So here's a beam, and this is what it looks like essentially before I do anything to it. This is what it looks like after I've done some work on it, and it does not take long to get that look. So burning in itself is amazing. It does tend to preserve the wood, and I do that for just that purpose sometimes. But when you burn it, it takes off all the loose fibers, hair-like fibers. This wood is very rough to the touch right now. You can see all the saw marks, and you can feel them all in this wood. So when I burn it, it's going to really tighten things up and seal it. And I'll burn it fairly heavily the first pass. And then I'm going to use a belt sander on it to smooth it. And it will smooth a lot easier after you've burned it, because a lot of the charred wood comes off very easily with the sander. So what we're going to do is I'm going to burn the wood. I'm going to smooth it with the belt sander after I've done one burn. Sometimes I'll burn it a second time to help the smoothing process and to seal it up. But in many cases, once is enough. And then once I'm convinced it's smooth enough, I burn it a final time quickly, and that's what brings out all the grain like you see it on here. Following that, we'll use some wood conditioner and stain to get this look. And it's really not complicated, it's very easy. So I'm going to take this beam outside and give it a quick burn and smooth with the belt sander, and we'll go from there. So I have my torch here ready to go. This is I call it a tiger torch. It's a large torch connected to propane, and I'm going to light that up, and we'll burn the top the first time and see how it looks. So there we've done a pretty good burn on the top of the log. Now I'm going to grab the belt sander and we're going to clean that off and smooth it. I have a Makita 3-inch belt sander, very strong belt sander, I love it. And I use an 80 grit belt when I'm doing this. So Now the wood is very smooth, and it's amazing how it changes the texture of the wood when you burn the top. Even when I'm sanding it, you can tell the wood is tightened up and closed up, and it sands very differently. So this isn't overly dry wood. It's it's not wet, but it's still a little sappy and heavier than a totally dried piece of wood would be. So now I'm going to burn it a second time. This time when I burn it, I'm not going to be as aggressive, and I'm going to try and burn it to actually make the grain show up. I'm not going to burn it to dry it. I'm going to burn it just to try and get the grain to appear the way I want. And once I've got that, we'll be ready to try and treat it. So I've done half of it, and I just want to show you how you can see now the part I've burned, the lines of the grain are magnified. They show up very well. Before I burn it, you barely see the grain lines in the wood. And it's because of the sap and the density of the wood, how it burns differently as you follow the grain lines. So I'll continue here and finish it. And there we go. So that's all I'm going to do to it until I now take the next step and use some wood conditioner and stain. And it will turn out very nice. But again, you can see now just how much the grain is visible in that wood after burning it. The sanding is critical. It won't burn the same if it's not smooth. So sometimes I'll burn it heavily twice and then do this the third time. But in this case, I've just done it once and it's working quite well. So I got the log inside here, and I just want to show you the difference now. So this is just what I just did, burned it. So we have very light and very dark, and you can see all the grain lines so predominant now that it's burned. So this is what we're going to end up with, and it's very easy to do. So I use a wood conditioner from Minwax is what I use. They call it pre-stain wood conditioner, and then I use the actual stain. Again, I like the Minwax stain, had really good luck with it. This is a semi-transparent English chestnut is the color that they're calling it. So we're going to put the wood conditioner on and then apply the stain. So I can apply the wood conditioner with a foam brush. Again, this is very smooth now. It was extremely rough before burning and sanding. It's very smooth. The wood conditioner is like water. So you can put it on liberally and you'll see it'll make the contrast right away, but it's simply because it's wetting the surface. The whole idea of the wood conditioner is to be able to prevent the wood from soaking the stain in. If the stain soaks in, it'll be dark, it'll be light, it'll be patchy, depending on how porous the wood is where you put it on. And you can't get the color exactly the way you want it. You end up getting what the stain gives you as the wood soaks it up. So I put the wood conditioner on until it doesn't soak any more up. It's starting to be wet now, even when I'm brushing. So it's taken most of what it's going to take. I also now, when I stain it, I don't want to let this dry. I want to just let it sit for a few minutes and soak up a bit more. And then I'm going to apply the stain while it's still basically not absorbed and dried. If it absorbs and dries, it's not going to allow us to spread the stain. So the wood conditioner is soaking into the wood. We put the stain over top while the wood conditioner is still there, and that lets us spread the stain and get the look and color we want. With a rag, we're going to spread it. We're not going to brush the stain on. So we're basically ready here to go. I'm going to give one quick wipe to take the real wet wood conditioner off. There we go. And now I'm going to just get some on the rag, and I'm going to start to brush it on. And you can see now I can make it as dark or as light as I want. The more I brush on and the more I wipe, the darker I can get it. And if it's a little too dark in one area, I can just rub it and take some of the stain back off until I get the color I want. A little darker. So that's starting to look quite nice now. I'm going to just add a touch more. You can see that I can just keep going layer after layer and wiping it, and if I rub hard, it will take some of it off to a degree. If I rub lightly when I'm rubbing it, it will stay and be darker, and it will set. So there we go. I'm going to stop there. And so now what we have is something that's actually pretty spectacular when you start looking at as far as wood goes. And that's literally just 5 minutes work, maybe 10, to burn it and do what we did to it to get that look. So very easy to do, but you can see just how spectacular burning brings out the grain. None of that grain would be showing anywhere near like it is if we hadn't burned it. So anyway, really easy. I do this quite a bit with wood that I use, and it gives you an effect that you just can't get any other way. And it's really, really nice depending on what you're making when you do things like this. Anyway, hope somebody finds that useful. If you enjoyed watching, please hit the like button and subscribe and help me out. Thanks a lot.